Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Rick and Morty, which we'll be getting into today. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Delaney Stovall.
Whoop.
And again, things with no context. And Michelle Anderer.
Hi.
Today, Delaney, Michelle, and I will be discussing the latest episode of Rick and Morty Season 3, Rest and Ricklaxation. We talk Rick and Morty every week, twice a week that it's new here on the Overly Animated Podcast. You can find us at overlyanimated.com or subscribe to us on iTunes by searching Overly Animated Rick and Morty to subscribe to either our main feed or our Rick and Morty specific iTunes feed. Check out our previous recap podcast and also our panel discussions. We'll have our panel up for this episode later in the week. Let's get into Rest and Ricklaxation. Make sure you've seen the episode first. Delaney, what are your impressions of this episode? Did you enjoy it?
Oh, I love this episode. I thought it was hysterical. I was really digging this episode. First it starts off, it's you're just ripping off Star Wars. This is great. And then it was just so funny and absurd, and having nice Rick and then nice Morty, but then Morty was also a total D-bag. All of it was great. And then I don't know, I just loved all of it. It was really funny, and I just enjoyed it a lot. It was really clever. And also, I don't know why, my girlfriend is why do you guys keep trying to predict what any of this means? She's you're never going to be right. Because I was we've been trying to figure out what this, green people thing is. And and then she's why do you keep doing this? You're not going to figure it out.
Yeah, on the panel discussions, one of the questions is what's going to be next week, and people make up ridiculous scenarios. I believe someone said that there'd be a spa involved, so they might get points for that.
For them.
Yeah. Okay, so enjoyed it. Let's establish the terms here. I'm going to go with healthy and toxic Rick and Morty. I believe that is what the episode calls them. So, the healthy version and the toxic versions. Let's go with that. Cool stuff. Michelle, what are your impressions of this episode?
I really like this episode too. This felt like a fairly new concept. And we've been talking before about how they've been kind of playing off of established tropes and trying to subvert them. But this felt more fresh to me than the past couple episodes. And I really liked that aspect of it. It was kind of interesting seeing them have that total meltdown after the first mission at the beginning. That went on for a while, but I kind of enjoyed it a lot. You could definitely tell they'd hit a breaking point, whatever that was. And yeah, just seeing, I didn't expect to the nice Rick so much and to be damn, this Morty's not okay. I don't know, he started off whatever, but then he had this really weird manic quality, and the stuff with the carrots, I was what's going on with that? Why do they keep asking if it's organic? What's wrong with him? But yeah, no, I really like this episode. I thought it had a lot of really good moments, and it just seemed really strong overall.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely want to get into the differences between healthy and toxic Rick and Morty's, and how that manifests. I enjoyed this one a lot. I think this is one of the more narratively interesting episodes, in the show's history. So of course, this is going to be one that I really like. That's something I really prioritize when evaluating an episode. I agree. This is an original concept. I've seen some talk that, this is kind of treaded upon territory, splitting a character into a good and bad version. That's not that's been done. But I think
it's not that simple.
Yeah, right. Yeah. This is their perception of themselves, and
exactly.
Yeah, and what the results of what they like and don't like about themselves, and that was fascinating to see play out. I think this is maybe the most interesting characterization of Rick and Morty in the show's history, and there's just kind of infinite things to delve into that we learn about both of their characters and their perceptions of themselves. Just in terms of it's just a solid episode. The pacing's really good after last week, which I think was definitely felt off in that category. Everything went too fast here. A lot happens at the end. It skips 3 weeks and some crazy stuff, but it all felt fine. I don't think I feel I say this every week, but I didn't find this episode particularly funny. I think this is one of the least laugh out loud episodes maybe in the show's history, but I didn't really care, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I found myself really enjoying it for its narrative elements and just for watching it as a story. And it's there's a lot of humorous things happening, and there are definitely jokes, and there's definitely things I enjoyed, but I found this one, I found this to be a really refreshing episode in the context of the season, given that It just like felt smart, and it felt like it was really well done. And like the last two episodes were maybe more slapsticky, and this one I feel like we're getting back into kind of some deep territory. So yeah, I very much enjoyed it, and interested to get into it and get your guys' takes on some of these character elements here. So yeah, I think that it's something that the episode kind of throws at you, but there's so much happening that it's kind of hard to really take in and conceptualize. Just the fact that the healthy and toxic versions of them are based off of their self-perceptions, kind of like what it's what Rick says, that the machine can't doesn't like have its own definition, it goes by their definition. So like healthy Rick kind of ends up being more a better person. So except for like he gets rid of his personal attachments. That's I guess more of a negative. So it seems like the Rick hates the bad parts about himself, but Morty kind of hates the good parts about himself. Like he just turns into a giant asshole when he's healthy Morty. That's something I found so striking here. What's your take on this? What Delaney, on what they found to be the healthy versions of each of them?
Well, what I really liked, like with Rick, it's really interesting because like I think this is how we would kind of like this is kind of like the Doctor. Like you have Rick, he's a genius, and he's a quote unquote good person. He was worried about the toxic versions of themselves, like they're sentient, like they're trying to reach out to us, like we have an obligation. So there's some morality there, but then again, the no attachments. Like he's like, I don't give a shit about Morty. Like I don't care. And he used that against the toxic Rick, which that's just a really interesting sort of like we've been exploring this. Like we've been deep, like I think we kind of like, oh, maybe like we're like, yeah, like if someone was like, okay, do you think Rick cares about Summer or Morty? And I think generally speaking, we'd be like, yeah, I guess maybe like sort of, and then. He doesn't let them die or anything. Like, he's a jackass, but, like, he probably wouldn't, like, kill them on purpose. And then we get to... And, Rick seems to have a, sort of, like, a more kind of a friendly relationship with Summer. Mm-hmm. But then we get to, the past few episodes where we're actually starting to touch on Rick kind of grappling with how much he cares for Morty. Like, actually, there being some concern there. And then we, like, face it full on in this episode about... he considers it a weakness, and then he's like, I don't give a shit, but hey, are you okay? Like, Grandpa's here, he's gonna, like, help you or whatever. So I guess I'm more interested, like, it's interesting in that Rick as a scientist would prefer that he didn't care, but then it's interesting in that, like, we're actually seeing that, like, we know for a fact that Rick does care about Morty, and it's kind of a redeeming quality. Like, you actually kind of felt bad for toxic Rick, and that healthy Rick was, like, being a giant asshat. So it's really interesting in that regard because the whole episode, you're like, Morty, you suck. Like, why are you so awful? And then then in the end, Rick kind of, it seems more like Rick's kind of back to his old ways when he's like talking to toxic Rick. So I guess that was what was really like striking to me, was that like with Morty and the personal attachments. And then with Morty, it was like he hates the weak part of himself, that he's, he stutters and which not that that's necessarily a weakness, but like he considers that one, and he's just kind of unsure. And that's more, I guess, the stuttering is more, I guess, like his indecisiveness, and he's not really sure. And then of course he does say things like, oh, I'm just terrible, like I hate myself, that kind of stuff. But then we see the healthy Morty, and he's just like, at first you're like, oh, like it's cool, like he's like helping people, he's more sure of himself, and he's just a giant asshat, and he just doesn't care about anything anymore. So I guess that was interesting in that, like, well, I guess for both of them, they, like the fact that they care, they considered toxic, like not a good part of them, which is interesting considering Morty caring is kind of what balances Rick and Morty out, but clearly Rick cares a lot about his grandchildren and obviously Beth.
Yeah. This is something that wasn't super obvious to me first viewing, is that, like healthy Morty, his conscience is not brought along. Like that's left behind with toxic Morty. Yeah. Whereas I think Rick his conscience was to a certain extent brought along, but not with regards to Morty. It's kind of like an objective conscience type of thing. Like,
Right.
When they were hashing out, like, oh, like we should bring back the toxic parts. Like healthy Rick's reasoning was like, well, it's the right thing to do, like objectively.
Kind of like textbook philosophy.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. He doesn't want any subjectivity in there. It's just like what he would view as kind of like objectively the thing to do. Like he says, it's not our place to decide which worlds are saved. It's something that normal Rick definitely does not think, as he determines the fate of worlds constantly. But yeah, you're like, okay, healthy Morty, wow, he's really confident. But then, he doesn't bring his conscience along, as Jacqueline later in the episode points out. I found, what's your take, Michelle, on the healthy versus toxic versions of them?
I mean, it's really, cause like, I wondered a lot about what Morty was going to be like once I realized what the episode was. And like, it's true, like he starts off, he's just like very charismatic. And like Delaney bring up, like it really is the fact that his like conscience is kind of gone, and why he would see that as a weakness. Because I think like a big part of Morty's flaw, or what he perceives as a flaw, is that he worries a lot. But he worries because he like cares about things. He takes time to think about things, and that's part of why he's so indecisive. When you take that away, he's just like gonna bulldoze straight ahead, like feel completely confident whatever he's doing, but that has its own consequences. Like when he was on this date with Jessica, like he just started like
shut up, Morty.
About everything. Like, what the hell's wrong with him? Does he did he have too much coffee? Like why does he keep like moving his hands around? Like he was really manic. And that kind of kept carrying over and over. And that made me wonder like why, because at the end like he knows like Rick is tracking him down through the phone, and then he just like leaves it recorded because he knows he's gonna find him. And it makes me wonder, like in the time he had after he like escaped to like have his own life, did he like realize that this isn't like what he really wanted? Like did he become more self-aware of the fact that he wanted his actual flaws back? So it's really interesting. That's mostly what I got out of it.
Yeah,
it's kind of neat in that like Morty, it seems with the toxic part of him gone, there are no limitations anymore. It's kind of like, how smart is Morty? Like how much does Morty know? How much does he understand? Because we see this kind of, he just thinks about a lot of different things. And at first when he's on the date, it's just like bullshit. Like he's just saying bullshit. But then this whole like stockbroker thing, and we know Morty struggles in school. Like that was kind of like a big thing in season 1, and we talked about it a lot. So it's kind of interesting in that, is it a lot of it more just him not being sure of himself, which that's like a real thing. So like that's like, you're not doing as well as like you actually could because you don't think you can. Granted, there, there's still actual limitations, but still like that's interesting in that regard. That we kind of see like, it kind of reminds me of the movie Limitless, and that kind of like it's gone and now he can like do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I'm not convinced he was like any smarter or anything, but he was just like way more socially adept and confident.
Yeah, he was just like in his own head, so he could do the things he couldn't normally do. Yeah. And it seems like he values people thinking he's cool a lot. Yeah, like he sees that as like a very good quality. Yeah, which was something.
Yeah, which makes sense as like a 14-year-old boy, and I agree at the end of when like Healthy Morty and when he's with Jacqueline in the New York City, it seems like he like wants Rick to find him, which was kind of fascinating. He's just sitting there like smiling the whole time.
Yeah.
So maybe
he was ready.
Yeah.
He was ready.
Kind of just done with what was happening. Yeah. So we can definitely we'll develop this discussion as we go throughout the episode. What I want to know is like, what's your standout moment of the episode, if anything? For me, I would say that it's this as we've been talking about, this Healthy Morty in New York after he takes off. I think this just whole sequence of Rick and Jessica coming back in, and with the Voltron robots, which we're going to talk about, and just everything there was like super successful for me. It was like it just felt like really great Rick and Morty type storytelling, where we just go one step beyond like the typical, and like it's not even one step beyond the typical, one step beyond the normal state of being beyond the typical device here, and that whole scene just really worked for me. What would you say, Delaney? Any standout moments in this episode?
Yes. So like I think the biggest standout moment to me is when they're on top of the moon tower thing, and that's when they're the showdown between Toxic Rick and healthy Rick, and like when they're talking and just that, you care about him. I don't. That was really stayed out for me, and that was a really powerful moment, I think, for the series. Though I did love, like, obviously the New York scene. Like, that was a really good scene. It kind of felt like a really well done movie. Like, you've seen that before, kind of, like, not in like the literal scene, but you've seen, like, you felt it before. And but then my absolute hands down favorite moment in the whole episode is when Rick's like, no, you can't have them. They turn into Voltron. And then, like,
oh, you can't have the drugs.
That was my favorite part. Like, yes. I was like dying. I was like, this is so good. Like, they form together to form Tiny Voltron, and then it like waves the sword. I was like, this is the best. That was like hands down favorite moment in the episode. But the like powerful moment is when they're on the moon tower. But like that Voltron thing killed me. Like, that was so good.
Yeah, you made the point earlier with the moon tower, and I definitely, between this and the Vindicators episode, we've been getting a clear arc on Rick being attached to Morty, and I think they've done a great job developing that this season. Briefly we're getting into the Voltron thing, because, like...
yeah, it's important.
This is, like, the episode for our podcast, I think. We have this blatant Voltron reference, and we cover Voltron Legendary Defender as one of the other shows. We cover a bunch of animated shows. So I was like, when I saw it, I was like, what is this, a crossover episode? Which is a joke for another show we cover. But then there's also, like, there's a picture of like a family photo with Jerry in the background, and there's just like a horse over his face, which may or may not be a BoJack Horseman reference. So there was that too. And then there's like there's a million Gravity Falls references in the show, but then there's another one. Right. There's like the eight pool ball eyeballs guy. He was like in the background of the Toxic Place. So it's just like 3 other shows that we talk about all in this episode. But yeah, the Voltron reference was so great, even though there are like 6 of them, and that's not how that works. But
no, but it was so funny.
And the colors were wrong, but yeah, it's good.
And like it was just like they're drones, and they came together. Like everything about that was great.
Yeah, I really like that.
It was like not only drones, and it came together to form Voltron. It was a little Voltron. It was so good. Like all of that together was amazing.
Yeah, that was.
And Rick was just so like, you can't. There's no way to make the drones. Look, they formed this. You can't have them. There's no way.
Yeah, in such like a serious like character focused episode, like that was a great comedic break.
That was so good.
Yeah. Michelle, a standout moment.
Well, I really liked the part when the healthy Rick was shooting the toxic Morty, and it made the toxic Rick out loud say like, yeah, like I care about him. Cause like, we've been talking about that for forever. Like, does he really care? Like, I don't know. Like, but like this, like just nailed it. Like, yeah, there's no denying it now. Like the feels are there. He doesn't think they're healthy, but they're there. Yeah. They're very real. And by extension, like, we can infer, like, he really cares about Summer and Beth, too. I don't know about Jerry. Jerry might be redeemable, but his feels stretch farther than he wants.
We don't need to get back into we got hate mail for your guys' treatment of Jerry. I'll tell you that.
Did you really?
It wasn't hate mail. No, it wasn't hate mail. It was just like a defense of Jerry. I got a few emails about that. But
okay.
No, but yeah, okay, yeah.
The Jerrys who watch the show.
Oh my God! Don't call a person Jerry. Come on, that's an
We're
insult.
Gonna get more emails now.
Yeah, so Michelle liking the feels with the I'm sure Rick would call them that too.
It was just very satisfying.
Yeah. How about favorite jokes from the episode? We talked about Voltron. That's definitely one of them. There's a bunch. There's a few others that come to mind for me. Delaney, do you have a favorite joke other than Voltron here?
Yes, it was really funny at the end, other than like the whole beginning where it's Star Wars. At the end when they're like, have you ever been peed on? Yum. Like
that was so weird. It was so funny. My God. And the thing with the foreskin before, what the heck?
We all keep repeating it to each other. It's so funny. It's just so stupid.
Yeah, Jessica Lange with the massive stripper titties is back in this episode with the Force.
Yes,
good.
Yes.
Yeah, she says, have you ever been peed on before? Oh my God, yum.
Yeah, no, it was so good.
Yeah, she also in the beginning of the episode is talking about...
She talks about the foreskin, was that her?
Yeah, she's talking about how I want love like a penis and foreskin kind of love. Like, so Jessica Lange with the bookends, great in this episode. I agree, that was really good. I like that you're repeating that. It's an interesting thing too.
It was so funny.
It's memorable for sure.
Michelle, favorite joke from the episode?
I don't know why, but just like the line when Morty's hitting on the one girl who gets sucked into the place, I forget her name, but when she's like, "Aren't you Stacey. A child?" Stacey, yeah, Stacey, and he's like, "Only in the ways that matter." I was like, "What the heck? That's so messed up." But like it stuck out to me.
Stacy's really good. I really enjoyed Stacy.
She's just like chill.
Yeah.
Like I liked her for the brief time we had with her.
Yeah,
I should have been paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, what's the? So you have to say the safe word.
Yeah. Wait. What was the
It's
safe
sea
word?
cucumber, duh, and then
Good.
Somebody watched this more than once.
yeah, duh, and then in the stinger, she comes out yelling sea cucumber as she was trapped in there.
Oh, and then another quality one is like just Morty just says so much bullshit. Like Healthy Morty just says like dumb stuff, and like I love when he's like, okay, we're gonna do like urban spin yoga, and like what?
What?
Yeah.
It was so good. Like basically all of his bullshit was really funny, but then of course when he was on the date, it was like, can you please stop talking? Like I'm getting a headache.
Yeah, he says, "Are you
Holy-
urban spin yoga? You do yoga on a bike, but you have an at-risk preteen," and then he hasn't finished. But yeah,
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Like that's so good.
yeah, that was a good one too. Yeah, I love the scene of Healthy Morty going up to hit on Stacy, and she's like, "Aren't you a child?" It's like,
Like I'm watching you drinking. Like oh my god, that whole interaction was hilarious.
And he finally like got her to be like, oh yeah, what the hell?
Yeah,
All right,
and-
I'll come back with you.
yeah, and then then just going back to Rick, and it's like, you can leave. No, is it wrong that I find this hot, them fighting?
Oh, yeah. She's just chill. I like Stacy.
Stacy's great, yeah. I love that. I love Jacqueline at the end is like, yeah, you were upfront about being a 14-year-old boy from the Midwest, yeah. Interesting characterizations of Stacy and Jacqueline here. I love those stuff. I also love the Terry Fold song, which
I'm just still like, what?
that was
Oh
on
my
it was on the
God.
radio when Healthy Rick and Morty it's like, I just put it on shuffle. It has nothing to do with anything, and it's on it's up on Chaos is the band with
I adore them.
yeah, they did the song, the Rick trying to commit suicide song, so they're like the official.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're like the official Rick and Morty band, I guess, now. And Justin Roiland did the vocals for this, which is him just rambling on nonsense about Terry folds and flaps.
And then the end, he's like, was that good? Should I do it again?
Yeah.
Which, like, this is made the song for me.
it's classic, yeah. And of course, he threw in a, like, you bitch, like, somewhere in there, like, obviously, yeah.
Towards the end.
Yeah. But yeah, that's on, like, Spotify and YouTube and stuff if you want to listen to the full Terry Fold song. I will say about this, it's, this is like classic Justin Roiland's gag of just him rambling on about nonsense. I do think we've seen it a lot now. I still think it's funny. I will say that.
Yes.
But we've seen it a lot. I think maybe like the PA system, like that's again classic Justin Roiland just improving nonsense. Like, and we kind of have it again here with like the crotch bot. That's another one of my favorite jokes. But that was like more like written and stuff. But you know, I don't know. Maybe we should mix it up a little more. But yeah, the crotch bot. I thought that was I don't know if that's what it was called. But he's like, yeah, I'm staying out of this. He couldn't tell what was happening. I like that. That's the mix up identity joke that we got is with a crotch protecting robot. That's very this show. The other maybe my biggest laugh was so when we get the world turned to toxic, and it's a lot going on in this episode. This doesn't even register on the radar, like the fact that we get like the whole world turning toxic within this episode. But like, you get the different, like how it manifests.
Different scenarios.
Yeah. And at first I didn't find it that funny what was happening. I was like, okay, this is pretty, you know, this is pretty typical. But then when it changed back, and we got, my favorite part was the kids were like killing the Mickey Mouse mascot, and then it changes
so
back
messed
and they
up.
just start
Kid
crying.
had like a bat with nails. Yeah.
This is
Blood
I
everywhere.
cracked up with that. I guess this type of joke really lands for me because I also loved the kid shooting the other kid last week, and
Dylan just loves
Oh my god.
this is so
Well, like-
funny. Yeah.
Well, it was like, so like it was just like the church thing was like, okay, bah, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And then like the food one was kind of funny, but then it's like all of those like kind of went back to normal. No, the kids like straight up murdered.
Yeah.
This, like,
Yeah, they murdered
can't
the guy, and then
pretend.
there's like one of the kids was murdered too, and the pool was filled with blood. It's so good.
it was pretty good. Like that was pretty good.
Yeah. The rest of that gag's also pretty good. Like the second one is the salad works people go into this
They go to
Sbarro, and then the person in the
Yeah.
Sbarro goes to the dumpster. That's the
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Like that was funny.
and then the first one, yeah, is the church for money got his lie. But then when it changes back, they're like One of them's like licking the other one's chest and stuff. Yeah, and then it's pretty great.
Fun orgy.
Okay, yeah. So I did enjoy this. It's just a really well put together episode that's just like a great pace joke and stuff like that. I'm sure I'll remember other stuff too as we go along, but yeah. So that's a lot of stuff. It's a decently. I think like a decently funny episode, although that's not what I'm going to remember from this. I'm definitely going to remember like the characterization stuff that happens. Agree?
Yeah, I mean, this seemed like a very character-focused episode, which was really nice.
Yeah.
And just like narratively, it's so interesting, especially because like we spend most of the episode with healthy Rick and Morty, but then, I don't know, like the way they just played it was just brilliant. And it was just really interesting because usually when you, because what's so interesting about this is that usually when you have like the bad good split, like, you know, they don't with Superman, like it's a big thing. You see it in comic books, you see it on TV all the time. And usually how that happens is you spend so much time with like the bad doing stuff to the good, or like I don't know, it's just you focus so much on the good, but then like what's interesting about this is because the way we flip it, like Rick and Morty just suck in general, and then like so the reverse is like how we normally see them are the toxic selves, and then it's weird to be with the good ones. So like it's just a really interesting. I mean, it's kind of a subversion of it when you think about it, to do it with like these kinds of characters. So, I mean, that's what I think. Just narratively, this episode is just really incredible, and like it just ties together really well.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a really good point.
I just found the whole take of it's like based on their self perceptions, so original, and really like a really good insight into their characterizations. Okay, let's go through the parts that we haven't talked about. So I have a lot of stuff written down, so we can make
Yes, you do.
I mean, these episodes are so jam packed. Yeah, so we can get the stuff we haven't talked about. So we talked about the beginning with Jessica Lange with the the penis and foreskin. Yeah, Jessica broke up with Brad. Big news. And
Morty shook.
Yeah, Morty's,
yeah, he is shook.
And she like says it in such a specific way that it might apply to Morty. It's pretty great.
And he gets
It's
so
really
happy,
funny. Yeah.
and then he fucks it up. He doesn't know what to say.
Yeah, and then Rick comes in. Everybody fuck off. It's pretty great.
Yes. A lot. And then like later when they do it again, it's like, can I have a moment of your time?
Yeah.
Like it was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Morty says, "You said I could go to school today." Yeah, we haven't talked about the beginning's really good.
It's so good.
It's really kind of subtle, but yeah, everybody fuck off. You said I could go to school today. In and out 20 minutes, and 6 days later, and they're just
6 days later.
Yeah, and they're just like
wrecked.
balling in Rick's ship.
Star Wars.
Yeah, it's yeah. I guess it's Star Wars. I mean, I don't.
It's 100% Star Wars. Okay, so like not only do they do the whole like they like blow it up or whatever at the end where they're getting the medals, like straight up Star Wars.
Okay.
Like,
That's a good point. When they were blowing up the thing, I was getting like Independence Day vibes, but the medal thing definitely is Star Wars.
Yeah, and yeah, I could definitely see it. And then them in the ship crying. My favorite line in that is, "I was not in control of that situation at all."
Yeah, look at my head shaking,
Yeah.
Morty. They're still
that was
shaking.
so funny.
Yeah, and then we need a vape.
They're just screaming.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, the pre-stinger. It's kind of like its own the pre-opening. It's kind of like its own episode segment. Just very solid. And the conclusion is that they need a vacation. Okay, that's where they're going with this. So we're going to this alien spa. They're in this creature that loves swallowing stressed out things and for 20 minutes and then puking them up. Morty says,
Where can I find one of these?
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
You want to do? Wait, you want to get in that thing? This.
I mean,
Yeah.
if they enjoy it, like,
relax
let's go for it.
them.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
why not?
Interesting. Yeah, Morty says, "My whole body is like a baby's ass."
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
That's the way to live.
I guess so. Yeah, this alien spa. They go to the psychological detox machine with the guy with the thing in his throat. Are you?
That was also really funny. Like obviously he was being a giant asshole, but it was so funny. Like he just rips him up. It was so funny.
And he's like proud about it after. He's like, "Did you see me destroy that guy?" And Morty's like, "Oh my god."
I don't know if he was proud. He was like, "Oh, maybe I should have done that." But yeah, he's like, he says first, like, "Are you on commission?" He's like, "I'm not on commission. I get paid by the hour."
Yeah.
He's like, Rick says, "Try swallowing the giant ball of snot." That's what you should do. Yeah,
That's so funny.
yeah, it was really good there. I really like that guy. I want the weird ball of snot in his throat guy back. Didn't seem like he was
New favorite side character.
Yeah, it didn't seem like he was being malicious, which is interesting. I will say, okay, brief thing. I think again this week we get something that I'm not buying, that Rick walks around the universe just so completely unprepared for things like the detox machine, and also the last week with the airport security. I feel like the first episode of this season changed everything so much that Rick is just the owner of the universe and can do whatever he wants. Like, we established that. So why is he just walking into these things and unprepared for them?
Because he doesn't care. I mean, I understand that Rick has a lot of experience and such, but I think what I like about it is that in this giant universe that they go around and explore, they run into shit that Rick doesn't even know about.
Yeah. I do agree. I think the explanation is that he doesn't give a shit. Like, I think that's...
Yeah, he doesn't care.
Yeah, he really doesn't care. But also, I think he feels like he's smart enough that, like, it's
Hasn't
also, like...
Rick proven it doesn't matter what happens?
Yeah, he knows he can be resourceful, and maybe he kind of likes the challenge of the idea of being in a situation he doesn't know about to, like, give him something to do for once.
Yeah, I agree with that, too. I think he probably, like...
Also, he wants to die, so I really
that's
don't
That's another good point, too.
That's another, like, his internal... There's a lot of layers,
There's definitely explanations. I wish the show would give us a little bit in the present, but like he has a robot in his crotch to like prevent crotch attacks. Like he's cybernetically enhanced. You know, he's very prepared for certain things, but others I guess he doesn't give a shit, whatever. So yeah, it didn't bother me when I was watching, but it was just something I talked about last week, so it happened again. They go into the detoxifier. It works really well the first time you're watching. You don't know this is like toxic them. You just think it's normal. Morty's like super groveling, like toxic Morty is, and Rick's like super asshole. Yeah, you can die when I say so. I control you. I control the universe, he says to Morty. To toxic Morty. It's pretty great. Where are the toxins? Where got removed? So yeah, that's like a great scene that works well when you know what's going on, and it's like different from before the reveal, I would say. We have healthy Rick and Morty back on Earth. The Terry Fold song, as we talked about, yeah, it's just I just hit shuffle, one random song a day. That whole scene's pretty interesting. Yeah, toxic Rick. Guess who just discovered a new element? If
he's just talking shit the whole time, it's really funny.
If God exists, it's fucking me.
And Morty's just like in a fetal position of sadness.
I discovered the toxic version of electricity, Morty. Oh, this is another great line of the episode. Toxic Morty. I think my voice is annoying. Toxic Rick. It is, and it's your best quality.
Best quality.
Yeah, that was like, oh.
Toxic Morty. So like, true. Yeah. That was one of the funniest exchanges for me. Yeah. The healthy them. The healthy Morty with Mr. Goldenfold in school. Glad we're getting more Mr. Goldenfold again. Wonder how his eating poop problem is going. But this is like classic Goldenfold usage here. But positive change for your character I've heard you become super healthy, like says Jessica. I think that's like interesting dialogue. Hey, Morty says he has haven't taken you to dinneritis. With
oh my god.
Wow.
Yeah. Rick's like on his like sub ether phone. Healthy Morty says he downgraded to a clamshell for emergencies only.
I love that he called it a clamshell. Is that like the actual name of the flip phone?
I don't know.
But it's clamshell.
No, I think he downgraded to a clamshell.
Like an actual clamshell?
I think that's what it might be.
No, I don't think so. He says if something's worth saying, it's worth eye contact. Like,
oh my god.
I mean, he says that, and then he just destroys that date all by himself. So.
Yeah. We mentioned the urban spin joke. Yeah. There you go. Morty at dinner with Jessica. The cup of carrot sticks. Yeah. He wants. And
then like Morty like breaks Rick's phone.
Yeah. He did. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You have to do this alien detox thing I did. Jessica's like, I think you get bored with me. And Morty's like, I know Sparks. Yeah.
The whole no Sparks thing was like really funny.
At least he handled that well, right? Like at least.
Right.
Yeah. He moved on very quickly.
Like at least it didn't evolve into like super asshole.
Yeah. Like he's kind of he's respectful of all these women, but it's just he's like aggressive and dumb like that. Yeah. It goes up to Stacy. Aren't you a child? Only in the ways that matter. Yeah. It's
oh my god.
Yeah. I want Stacy back. That's my character.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That's my character of the episode. Healthy Morty. I wonder what it takes to please you. Yeah. Stacy's like, oh fuck it. Yeah. They get back. They're like making out in the taxi or something. Are you familiar with Benoit technology? You don't need to get into that, but that was like also an Archer joke. So that was interesting. They brought that back. They purchased the detox chamber from the spa. I talked about, is it wrong that I think this is kind of hot, them fighting? She's like, I need to hear a safe word, Morty. Yeah.
Sea cucumber.
Yeah, sea cucumber. And she's like, is this like a sex dungeon? I guess I should have been paying more attention. It's great. Groin system 6000, assessing threat to groin. That is my groins user. You know what?
That was so funny.
The robot getting confused is pretty great.
Yeah, you know what? Not my table. Says the says groin system.
That was actually a
6000.
pretty good line.
Yeah. Their whole fight, we didn't even talk about this.
The fight was like incredible.
Yeah.
That was like maybe the best fight
really
ever.
cool.
Like it was so weird. And like they just like puke out a baby and then it grows. Like what?
Yeah,
They're both so equally matched.
Yeah.
They know where all the weapons are.
Yeah, this is maybe one of my favorite fights in the show. I love this a lot more than like the roller coaster fight last episode. Although that was like also creative. This was I love like Rick fighting with himself. They have access. Like he makes this like he grows this creature that like tries to kill him. They both.
Oh, I love he's like he's like being so nice to it. He's like, go get him. Like it was
Go murder him.
Yeah, they both have this dart thing. So it's it starts. They inject themselves first, and then they shoot it at something. So like they're making a clone of himself that can like regrow out of whatever they shoot it at. So they both do that. So they both like their original form dies, and then they regrow in new form.
It was amazing.
Yeah. And then Beth comes in. Yeah, dads. Yeah, it's pretty good.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. That whole fight was like super.
It was like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but like super sci-fi and absurd. And it was amazing.
Yeah, I love this. I love the storyboarding on that scene. Definitely props.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Like I would just love that fight. It was so ridiculous.
Yeah. And then make the whole world toxic. Like I said, not our place to pick and choose which world gets saved from what apocalypse, says healthy Rick. Very un-Rick like.
Very ironic considering they have escaped from Cronenberg.
Yeah, it's considering Cronenberg universe. Yeah. They learned the machine by one's own individual definition of toxicity. So they go to a moon tower here. Now, I was not familiar with a moon tower. Are either of you familiar with moon towers? I think we're maybe too young for. I mean, this is like an 18th century thing, but
yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
I think everyone is too young.
Yeah. maybe I don't know. Maybe it's like an old culture thing that prevailed, but yeah, I don't know. They're just a giant thing that illuminates the town. They still exist in Austin, apparently. That's the only place where they're still
interesting.
I don't know.
Wow.
Did we know where this show took place? Because we hear Midwest in this episode. But there's like still a moon tower there, which would indicate Austin, but that's not Midwest. So anyway,
I just kind of imagine this kind of like Springfield, like Phineas and Ferb kind of like.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was interesting that she like specifically said Midwest.
I thought so too, which then I was like, I'm still not shocked.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? So yeah, they toxify the world. We talked about the jokes, the detox sequence there. Shoots toxic Morty with an encrypted nanobiotic virus, bullet. Healthy Rick, doesn't give a shit about all my problems, removed, including irrational attachments. So yeah, we talked a lot about the scene. It was a really interesting take on that. The reverse the toxic beam, and
we forgot that Beth like refers to as like you're like booger you.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's
iconic theme now.
That's probably how we're talking about them with the trailer discussion, I think, but
probably.
Yeah. I think so.
3 weeks later in New York, we talked a lot about the scene too. Morty's selling stock as a stockbroker, talking to Dwayne. He says that a lot. Healthy Morty being the whole analogy to like it's like a beautiful redhead, just like so such an asshole with this whole thing. But it's a pretty great sequence. He gets the call from Jessica. How long for Rick to trace location? I like how he just immediately knows that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
You were the perfect man, says Jacqueline. Jacqueline's also pretty great, but
yeah. She's not quite Stacy levels.
Yeah, no, she's not quite Stacy.
Stacy's better.
Stacy's just down.
Sorry, tiny American psycho, says Rick. Time to take.
That's it though. That's like who he is. That's why it's so creepy. Like, he's so manic. There's something very uncomfortable about his personality.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the carrots, I swear. What's up with that? I'm not over it.
Well, I don't think the carrots are. I guess it's weird that he's making carrots later, but Jessica orders the carrots. I don't know.
They like eat them. We're just like, oh, these are so good. What are these? Like baby carrots? Oh, they're organic. It's just like so weird, and it comes back.
Michelle is creeped out by carrots.
Yeah,
I'm creeped out by that kind of carrot love. Very particular kind. It's not.
Okay.
What about pickle love though? What about liking pickles so much that you get turned into a pickle? Yeah,
that's okay.
That's okay.
That's
okay, I see.
But not.
Not the carrots. Okay. He says, time to take the opposite of your medicine. Yeah, okay. I wanted to mention this. We have this whole thing of that, like, did Jessica care about getting Morty back? So they like argue, like Rick says Jessica did this so she would stop, or Jessica says Rick did this so he would stop, drunk dialing, her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
he kept showing up at the house.
Yeah.
So, like, they're just pointing fingers at each other. I think they kind of wanted it to happen.
Did you get a new Morty? But then at the end, Jessica's like, glad to have you back. So, I think the takeaway, my read is that Jessica, is happy to have Morty in her life in some capacity. I think that's what we're getting at here.
Which is kind of weird because, like, they don't really interact except when Morty's being a telecreep.
Yeah.
Morty does say that, I don't know who says this, but it's like you just, I think, healthy Morty, you just liked having someone in your life that would, like, always like you or something. I forget the exact line, but yeah, which is an interesting take on it.
She doesn't really interact with him, though. She doesn't, like, seek him out to get that kind of validation. So, I mean, it could be, like, a little true, but she doesn't, like, act on it. So, they honestly just don't know each other that well.
I mean, we haven't seen Jessica in, like...
forever,
before last week, it was, like, 10 episodes. I don't know more. When was the last time we saw Jessica? I don't even remember. But, I guess probably she was in Tiny Rick. Yeah. So I wonder if we're going to follow up on this Jessica potentially wanting to be friends with Morty. I'd love to see more Jessica on the show. I think she's kind of interesting.
I mean, it'd be nice to see like more of her. Like what would happen?
Jessica adventure. Let's do it.
Oh God.
Let's do it.
We figure out what her personality is though with an actual like adventure. So I'd be down for that.
Yeah. It'd be pretty cool. Like, did she interact with Summer? Have we seen that? I don't even know. But yeah. I guess you were pretty. I guess you were pretty upfront about that, Jacqueline. You were my soulmate, says Jacqueline. So.
Oh my God. And he's like, "Okay, I gotta go."
Yeah. Can't keep the drones. They turn into a little Voltron robot. They're awesome. Yeah. Okay.
I love that. It's such a good gag.
Yeah. And then at the end, are you getting back together with Brad? No, Jessica just had like dinner with him. So we'll track that. The status of Brad and Jessica. Brad, I don't know if we've seen him since the season 1 finale. I don't remember, but we've seen him. And then at the end, Rick's like, we need doorstops, Morty. A brick would work too. Like
that was great.
Yes.
Like that's so back to the status quo of them going on unnecessary adventures. So and then the Pete line as talked about. Yeah. Terry followed in the credits, the stinger on the moon tower, a tour of that, and then Stacy pops out. See cucumber. Yeah. I enjoyed that. I think it's a pretty decent stinger. I don't know. Stacy's a contender for these top 10 minor characters now. I feel like the more we talk about her, she's pretty great. So I was enjoying that. And then we get the preview for next 2 weeks from now, as I called last week. No episode next week for Labor Day, but then we have the Ricklantis mix-up.
Finally.
What do you mean finally? You've been waiting for an Atlantis episode?
I'm just ready to go to Atlantis.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be great.
Like, there's nothing.
It's going to be fucked up. I can't wait.
He's like, it's my time, finally. We're going there.
There's nothing in the preview that was like anything. It's just them saying like Atlantis, but like that makes me more hype. Like, where's the...
And then they come, and then they like, it's like them getting back, and they're like in like wetsuits or whatever.
Yeah. It's going to be good. 2 weeks from now.
Hype.
We'll see that.
Hype.
Delaney, what are your final thoughts on this episode?
I really enjoyed it. It was just a really good episode. It was really funny. Narratively, I think it might be one of the most interesting episodes of the series. I think it's definitely in my tops now. Like I'll have to revisit my list. I don't have a running list the way Dylan does, but I might actually have to develop one. But I really liked it. I thought it was really funny. Like the comedy just hit for me, and it was just a really brilliant episode.
Nice. And above average, average, or below average episode of Rick and Morty?
Above average, definitely.
Nice. Michelle, final thoughts here.
It was above average. I'm sorry. Now I'm just thinking about Terry Fold again. It's like the only thing in my brain.
Terry Folds are very important. Yeah.
Yeah. Folds
my question with
I can't talk anymore.
Here's my question with Terry Folds. It's not clear from the song. Are they Terry's folds? Like, is the guy Terry, or
I think
or
so.
like the folds themselves called Terry Folds on this alien species? Like, I was very unclear listening to this many times. It didn't help.
Man.
Anyway, yeah, continue.
It's a good question. No, now I'm thinking about it. I think it's the species.
Yeah, I think like the fold might just be named Terry Fold, or like the species is named Terry. There's a lot of options here. Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah, above average, below average, or average episode of Rick and Morty.
It's definitely above average. Like the pacing was really good. The characterization was really strong. It gave us a lot to think about, and it's like building more on top of the two main characters, which is great. And even though we didn't have like a lot of Beth or Summer, like I didn't mind because like the stuff interrogating like Rick and Morty was so strong that like I was totally fine with that. Which again, like there weren't like a ton of like laugh out loud either, but like I didn't care because like the pacing was really good and the content was really interesting anyway. So yeah, I was very satisfied.
Yeah. I agree. Above average episode, although I have no idea where to rank this. This is going to be interesting. So.
It's very special.
Yeah, like how do I rank this against like like the improv episodes? Like it's completely different animals. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's just going to be somewhere in this this upper tier of episodes. Very much enjoyed it. Strong effort, and I'm happy after. I wasn't super into the last 2 weeks, so excited to get into Rick's Lantis mix up. And then the week after is Morty's Mind Blowers, apparently. Although there were fake titles there before, so I don't know if I trust it anymore. But
there was somebody being sneaky.
I'm not sure if it was like just someone editing the Wikipedia page, or it's like it could just be Adult Swim trolling. It's like not even clear, but yeah. But anyway, next week Rick's Lantis mix up, or 2 weeks from now, gonna be great. Check out our panel discussion later this week. Subscribe to us so you don't miss that. Search Overly Animated Rick and Morty on iTunes or Podcatcher, or the iTunes podcast app or whatever. And next week we'll also have something, probably only one, and who knows what it will be. So we'll see. We'll do something during the off week. Yeah, it'll be good. So yeah, check out overlyanimated.com, and we'd love iTunes reviews, by the way, on either of our feeds. I don't know if I have iTunes review of the week for this one, but leave iTunes reviews in Rick and Morty feed or our general feed, and we'll read them at the end of this or the panel discussion. You can consider supporting us at Patreon, patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to all of our patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Beatrice, aka Beatrix Exchange. And thanks as always to our patron executive producers, John, Ryan, Steve, Alex, and Andy. So yeah, back for the panel, a bunch of other content at overlyanimated.com that I'm sure our listeners are not that interested in, including OKKO coverage coming up. We had feat Michelle. We have Mysticon's podcast out today. Feat Delaney, probably the opposite of this audience. Yeah. But relevant.
Your hype for it is real.
We're starting to cover BoJack Horseman. That is relevant to this audience. Yeah. So our first BoJack podcast is out, and we'll be ramping up to season 4 of BoJack. So I'd say if you're a Rick and Morty fan, check out BoJack on Netflix. It's the I'd say another adult animation top tier kind of show. Really, really good. So all of that at overlyanimated.com, and let us know what you thought of our discussion here in the comments wherever you're listening. Thank you guys very much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.